to Young Money. I'm Nozipho Mbanjwa, and today we're sitting down with positive parenting coach. Her name is Ayanda Tetyana, and she's the founder of a company called Tswelopele Kids. Ayanda, it's lovely to meet you, and I'm really curious to find out what positive parenting is all about. What do you guys actually do?
So we basically provide skills and tools for parenting. Now, if you look at how our parents have parented over the past few years, it's completely different to what's happening now. If you look at a young child who's, for instance, 5 years old, in terms of the intelligence, in terms of the emotional intelligence, they're completely on a different level to where we were a few years ago. So it's basically bringing awareness and conscientizing parents about the changes that have happened over the decades, and then being able to have this idea of what is it to parent for the future. We're parenting for children who are not going to be getting jobs, who are going to be creating solutions to the problems that the world is facing. So we have to be very conscious on how we're raising these children. Basically, that's what we do. We just give them the tools.
I think that's absolutely exciting, and it would be really interesting to find out how the way we were parented differs from the kind of parenting that your tools enable parents to actually execute. What's the fundamental difference?
Look, it's just basics, it's principles. One of the most important things that I always say when I talk to parents is there's no manual on parenting, okay? You have to work with the principles. And if you have an understanding of where are we going as a future in terms of as a country, as a global world, you need to be very conscious. We are no longer trying to have obedient children.
Right.
We want children who are going to see problems, who are going to look outside this box. So what does that mean? What are you doing in your household? Are you expecting your child to do everything that you are saying now? Or are you allowing them the freedom to express themselves? Are you asking them questions so that they can have answers and start to think outside the box?
So I want to go back to where this idea actually came from. I mean, it must be rooted in a personal story somewhere. Where does the story start?
Absolutely, it is really, really rooted from a personal story. When I had my son, and literally holding him, it was quite an emotional time for me because most of my friends, HIV, drugs abuse, alcohol abuse in the township growing up in Soweto. And it really hit me looking at him that first day. What am I going to do to make him different? Stretch marks and all. you want something that you can say, you know what, this was worth it.
Yeah.
And it just really opened my mind to being conscious. I did a certificate in Montessori training, and now I'm also doing a positive parenting program where I'm becoming an international accredited coach, but I've created my own content about how to parent. So for instance, if we're having a talk, we would talk about discipline. What is the concept of discipline? And how do you bring it into your household? How do you become aware of what works and what doesn't? You don't want your child to just be scared of you. Because if they're scared of you, they're scared of everyone else, including the teacher, including the other kids in the playground, and you're just not trying to raise children like that anymore, you know?
But how has this positive parenting been received, in particular in the Black community? I mean, I'm beginning to just imagine a conversation with my mother and saying to her, by the way, smacking isn't the way to go. How has the product and the service been received?
It's been amazing. I think the one thing is everyone is aware that these children that we're parenting now are very different.
Yeah.
I get shocked. Like I was actually saying to one of my mentors that the biggest response I get on my social media, for instance, is male dads. And that's not what you would expect. They're the ones who are booking my services or trying to get into the workshop or assessment for their children. So just by being aware of the differences in terms of the different generational gaps and being conscious to say, what now? We have the biggest unemployment rate, and we cannot carry on like that. But what do we do from your 2-year-old, 3-year-old now to train them to start saying, I can do that? You know, that's basically the that's what it was all about.
And what are the biggest issues that parents generally come to you with? I mean, as you mentioned the age groups, I'm thinking of the terrible twos. I've got nephews who are between 2 and 3
Yes.
together,
Yep.
and I'm very au fait with their terrible two tantrums. But what are some of the big issues that parents seem to be grappling with in modern day South Africa?
Okay, first of all, there's a huge wide variety depending on the socio-economic place where that family is. So you have parents who are well off, if I can say that, who spend a lot of time at work, who have a lot of guilt that they're dealing with. So they compensate and overcompensate sometimes by doing a lot of by getting a lot of material things for their children. And then you have parents who are really, really struggling and can't do any of that. And they just don't know how to communicate with their children, even just to say, for instance, this is our budget.
Yeah.
We can only afford this one little ice cream. And you know, as I said, I always say this, children are so intelligent. So once you start engaging them on a little scale and building a vision as a parent to say, listen, this is our family, this is what we're trying to do, so that they get involved and understand whether you're working late or you have assignments, how do you respect each other's space? And once you start to treat your young children with that respect, just imagine if you're going to work and your boss treats you with this excitement and respect. That's when you become more productive, right?
Right.
Exactly. That's the kind of social intelligence that these young children have. So they can feel the gap if you're treating them a certain way, and then they would pull away. That's when you start to see the whole, just the whole pattern of the struggles in between, whether it's at the toddler stage with the tantrums, when they get older and they don't want to communicate to the parents, and then teenage, it's now a big monster, elephant in the room.
And of course, the word millennials is the buzzword of the decade, I must say. And I assume that millennials come with their own headaches that parents have to think about. Is there a standard operating procedure on how to raise a millennial?
For me, it's really quite simple. As I said, I have to always say this, because at the same time, you don't want to make a parent feel like I've been doing the wrong thing. Oh my God, you know. But if you lay out principles, simple principles, like for instance, let's say things like, okay, if you're interested in trying new things, let's complete them. Let's have that discipline. You'll try, for instance, your piano lessons. Do the whole thing, know how to play piano, then you can go try something else, and then you can try something else. So there's certain principles that we have to really, really lay down. Things like how you handle recycling in your household. I think it's an amazing challenge because it also puts parents in a place where they also become conscious. I know a lot of my children that I've worked with over the past few years who end up telling their parents not to litter. And it becomes very embarrassing as a mom when your child tells you that and you're not going to do it again. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And of course, as you speak, I have to go to this really uncomfortable space and reality of being in South Africa, where we have a lot of broken families, a lot of single parent families in South Africa. Is this different? I mean, you're already playing in the global space. You're getting your accreditations from a global perspective, so you're able to see the comparative patterns coming through. Is this unique to this country that we have so many broken and single parent households?
I don't think it's unique per se because the divorces happen, but maybe how then parents participate or engage with the children, whether they're going over for holidays or weekends. It's a bit different in terms of what's happening with our society. So there's a lot that needs to be done there in allowing both moms and dads to feel like they have the same responsibility, not that it's just the moms. As I was saying to you, I'm completely surprised. Most of the time, my clients are actually males. And these are dads who are like, you know, my child, and they want to talk about their children. They're so excited about their children. And I think that's so exciting. So the more we talk about it and make it okay for dads to say, what exactly is happening in my child's, how can I help my child? And then we're going to see a very big shift.
And so let's talk about the big vision for Tswelopele. Where to from here? I mean, from the one hand, what I'm also hearing is that you do have a love for rebuilding communities, and the townships is an area where you would like to work as long as it becomes financially viable. What would you need to hit that perfect balance of servicing corporate South Africa, but also doing good while doing business from a regulatory perspective, from a partnership, from a funding perspective?
Yeah.
What do you need?
We need a lot more people to understand how important it is to invest in early childhood development. We're basically saying, so as a corporation, and you're building all these amazing infrastructure, different television sets, the telecommunications, but if you're not investing in the young people who are going to use these systems, like, what's the point? And it's something that, as our country, we're not really loud about. You don't hear a lot of talk about it. So I don't see a lot of consciousness in that space, and I think it's something that I'm really excited about taking it on and going to the different corporates to say, let's go invest in Limpopo. Let's go and invest in some informal settlement. There's a project that I'm doing next week, and we're doing a parenting workshop in an informal settlement in Hartbeespoort area. And it's just exciting because you are getting these parents who would only think, I don't have money, so what am I going to do for my child? To say, actually, the relationship that you're creating with your child is the most important thing.
So I mean, your motivation and your passion must come from somewhere. I would assume that a part of it is driven by your son.
Yes,
but what keeps you going? And especially because it does sound like it's a difficult space and a business to be in.
It has been quite a bit of a journey, and I think I always joke around with my friends that, you know, when I started the business, I was not interested in looking for research as to what works or what not, or if this is relevant. I just had this feeling that, you know what, there's a huge need. And the more I started to do the work, I saw the results. You know, when you get a mom whose child was diagnosed with all these things, who then says, oh my God, my child is actually intelligent. Did you know that they can do this, 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 this? So we're starting to focus on the positives. What gifts do your child have? And that, for me, is just like, it just completes me, because you have one person whose life will be changed forever, and all of the experiences that they have a relationship with their children. I recently lost my dad, and I found that the most important thing about parenting is these memories that we have, not the money, not these fancy houses that we're working towards. All the degrees, they become irrelevant. It's what moments did we have, and that's basically getting parents to be aware of that.
Fantastic. It is the memories that matter the most, and these are the memories that children will hold for a lifetime from their parents. And this is from positive parenting coach Ayanda Tetyana. She is the founder of Tswelopele Kids, sharing with us how the business is trying to re-engineer and rebuild the communities from which we come. It's been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for making the time to join us. Now remember that if you want the Young Money crew to come to you, all you need to do is just follow me on Twitter. It's @TheRealNozi, and don't forget you can also follow me at CNBC Africa. Our hashtag, of course, is YoungMoney410. Until next time, it's goodbye.